Morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting, Board of Fire Commissioners. Date is Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. It's about 9:02 a.m.
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Glazer, Ibarra, Ninberg, Hara, and Woods Gray are present, and you have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. Flag salute, moment of silence.
Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
So we start, as always, with Commissioner comments. It's been a couple of months, so.
Okay, yesterday I was in the Kingdom Day Parade. We really missed Commissioner Woods Gray, but Chief Terrazas and Chief Hogan, Chief Rideout were there, and then both Cody and Phil Wyreader likewise there. And as always, it's a great parade, a lot of energy with all the different, in fact, a lot of bands, but also a lot of dancing groups participated, and Chief Villanueva was back at the command center.
Great.
Hi, good morning. Happy New Year to everybody. It's been a little while. So since our last meeting, there's been a few letters that have flown around, including one from United Firefighters and the Chief Officers Association that seemed to advocate against lowering standards in the drill tower while implying there was an effort underway to lower standards, and that this charge is being led by a member of the commission. I want to be clear about something. There's no effort underway to, quote, lower standards. However, there is a healthy questioning of our department's success in attracting and retaining women and other underrepresented groups, as there should be, given the mandate that we have both from the elected leaders of this city and general good government principles of diversity that considers diversity as a strength in organizations. And it's the job of this department, as the oversight body, to ask questions and for us to use all relevant and available data and analysis to help us better understand if we are doing things the right way. And if it's not the right way, it's our job to push for change. And it's interesting to me that when a member of the commission, and a woman at that, has the temerity to ask questions and demand answers, it caused such dramatic response in writing. So threatening, in fact, that the old boogeyman of lowering standards was trotted out yet again. And this is not a new idea, of course. The idea of lowering standards, the use of that argument has been around for decades as a way to exclude people from within this city, and there's a rich history associated with its use in this department and in others. It's used to keep people out. It's not without irony that I remember that old trope that I hear in the field so often about the LAFD and the fire service in general, 100 years of tradition unimpeded by progress, which would be funnier if it were somewhat less true. But overall, this letter made me realize we've got some bigger issues, reminded me we've got bigger issues around here with the culture. A culture which primarily hears only what it wants to hear, that discourages honest discussion for fear of looking bad, and that avoids actively confronting uncomfortable truths and shuns opinions of those who are not in the, quote, in group, no matter how respectfully they are offered. Chief, this is your department. This letter was sent to all members, and I would like to see a response from you to all members, a response that refutes in no uncertain terms this idea that there is some plot afoot to lower standards, and one that reaffirms our commitment to building the diverse department that the city deserves, as well as the need for us to constantly reevaluate our practice. I look forward to your message on the portal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Good morning. Happy New Year to those who I haven't seen this year. I don't know if we had a meeting this year. This is probably our first one. But I was out for for a few meetings, not many, because we had many that were canceled. So thank God I didn't miss as many meetings as I could have. But I'm very glad to be back and to be feeling healthy. I had a real surprise on Martin Luther King's Day, not the weekend, the Saturday before. I went to the Empowerment Summit, and there I saw the Sober Unit vehicle. I didn't realize that there was actually a vehicle, but it was nice to see it there. They were trying to show the community the many ways that they help homeless people and people who are in need. And they had the whole team there, and we had Chris V, because he has a name that I can't really remember, but I told him I would remember Chris V, who was substituting that day. I think he's from the station on 108th and Main. Is that 68, 65, 64? And then they had the physician's assistant, and the whole team was there, which was it was great talking with them. And I plan to go and visit with them later, but it was good to see them there. And the vehicle clearly stated it was an LAFD vehicle, so I had to take a picture with it. That was something to put on Facebook. You know, I love Facebook. Yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday celebration, not the birthday itself. It was the 15th. But we celebrated the life of this great civil rights leader. And I really want us to live his life every day, not just one day. So I had this one quote for today, which I think is very important and really works for me and this department. The quote states, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." It's really, I think, important that we take notice and not be afraid to talk about the things that are happening in this department that may need to take notice. But I notice that firefighters are not very good at that. But we want to make them feel more comfortable in their stations with the things that are happening there so that they can speak up, because it's really important to know what's really happening in our fire stations, in our fire programs, period, because there are a lot of things happening and none of us can keep up with it. It's just a lot. I also wanted to address the issue of the lowering the standards. When I got, I think, Delia's letter talking about I see a lot of things that may need to happen. I've observed them and heard from people about them, especially in that last class, because we had a lot of conversations about them. But it doesn't mean lowering standards. For me as a teacher, it means finding a way to meet the learning styles of the recruits, because there must obviously be more than one way to teach some of the things that we teach, but we're not lowering the standards. We still want them to meet the standards. I always think of people who have master's degrees, bachelor's degrees. If they can learn whatever got them through that degree program, I'm sure they can learn to throw a ladder if we find a way that meets the learning styles of the people who are taking the training or to lay a hose. But I was glad to see in the report that there are things being done to help with that. So maybe some of the talk is being heard. And I was just, I think if I had felt like coming back to the meeting the day I got some of those letters, because my nerves were a little bit off, I probably couldn't have come to the meeting. I probably would have said, "Oh, if I can't come, I'd have to stay home," because some of them were a little disturbing. But the thing that I want to emphasize is that I never want to lower standards. We want because we don't want anybody to get hurt. We really want this to be the safest department, while it's the best department, to be the safest. But I do believe that there are things that we can do that will incorporate the same standards and continue to make this department the best ever. I don't know if the report was done on the new testing period to this board yet.
I think it is in here.
It's when?
It's in the report that we're reviewing today.
Oh, it's in the report we're getting today. Oh, good. Because I heard that we'll be testing soon, and I wanted to make sure that we heard something about that.
Okay.
I know I was gone a long time, and a lot of things happened, but those are the few things that are at the top of my list for today.
There are 2 items today that deal with drill tower issues, so maybe this is more appropriate in that section, because we do have, we are recognizing some members right now, so maybe let's do that, and then we can come back and have this discussion.
Oh, okay. I do recognize it was some of the things that were in the room, but I just wanted to address the lowering of standards.
This would be more appropriate for either of the drill tower reports that we're reviewing today.
Okay.
So let's save that, and let's move on to the rest of the agenda. Unless there's something else from any of the commissioners. So, report of the fire chief.
Thank you, Madam President. It has been a while since we last met, so some of these events occurred over the holidays. On December 18th, we had our staff holiday appreciation luncheon at Frank Hotchkin Memorial Training Center. Very well attended. Miss Betty Bonata was a coordinator of that. We had 300-400 people there, and it was very positive. December 24th, we had the annual supply and maintenance holiday pancake breakfast at our shops. That's been going on for several years, and I attend that every year. And it's really special because families come in, and we conduct an annual inspection of the facility. And the shops looks amazing like it does every year. People are very proud of the place that they work and of the LAFD. On January 9th, I went to Riverside to present before the FireScope Board of Directors meeting. This organization is combined of fire departments throughout the state, and the purpose of that presentation was to get support for state funding of the Y-Fire and fire risk brush fire projection programs that we've been implementing over the past 4 to 5 years. It looks very promising in the state budget, and we're optimistic that those programs will be funded at the state level. On January 16th, I attended a firefighter robot demonstration down in the harbor, and this is cutting-edge new technology. I learned of this tool during the Notre Dame Cathedral fire in Paris last year. And they had a scenario where they were concerned about the walls collapsing. So they had this tool that they put inside that is a dozer, literally with the capability to flow thousands of gallons of water. So we identified some state companies here in the United States, and we're very pleased with what we saw on Friday, and our foundation will be pursuing that. So hopefully I'll have some updates on that issue later. And then yesterday, as was mentioned previously, I attended the Kingdom Day Parade. It wasn't the same without Commissioner Woods Gray. She's usually in charge of the siren activation. So between the 4 or 5 sworn individuals on the rig, we figured it out. And we activated the siren. All the kids love the siren with our 1931 Seagrave antique fire engine. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief.
Just briefly, I just want to note that when I was 5, I submitted drawings of a robotic firefighting dozer to former Chief Potter and got 0 feedback on that. So I'm glad my idea is finally coming to light. Yes.
Okay. All right. Moving on to 5B, which is verbal report by the department on significant incidents from December 9th to January 20th.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas. Chief Deputy Alfred Poyer, Emergency Operations, here for a verbal report on significant incidents and activities for the period of December 9th, 2019 through January 20th of this year. During this 43-day period, our resources and members responded to a total of 60,175 emergency dispatches for an average of 1,432 a day, over our average. We transported a total of 26,000 people to emergency rooms across the city for an average of about 618 a day. With 6 out of the last 10 days resulting in over 600 transports each day, our ambulance fleet has been incredibly busy. This is a consistent trend we have seen this time of year for the past several years. So we keep a close watch and augment our resources whenever necessary. As was mentioned by a couple of the commissioners, yesterday we participated in and augmented resources for the Kingdom Day Parade and Freedom Festival events. LAFD resources in the parade were Light Force 94 and the LAFD bandwagon. Deployed, we had a battalion chief, 3 engine companies, 5 ambulances, 5 two-person cycle teams, 7 members of our Fire Prevention Bureau, and 15 CERT volunteers. We had a total of 4 patient contacts and 2 transports during the event, which is very low, and we were thankful for that. It was a very positive event. In December of 2019, based on the successful budget enhancements recognized through the support of this very Fire Commission, the City Council, and Mayor Garcetti, we were able to expand our fast response vehicle program from 2 full-time firefighter paramedics deployed 4 days a week to 8 full-time firefighter paramedics deployed across the city with coverage a minimum of 5 days a week. These members are all Tactical Emergency Medical Specialists, TEMS specialists, which means they have all completed 80 hours of training with the LAPD Special Weapons and Tactic, aka SWAT, personnel, focused on tactical law enforcement situations where our firefighter paramedics would normally be placed in a medical support role. The FRV teams are now deployed to Fire Station 91 and Operations Valley Bureau, to Fire Station 82 and Operations West Bureau, to Fire Station 9 here in the Central Bureau, and to Fire Station 64 in South Bureau. We look to supplement their training with additional alternative destination qualifications training just to continue to expand our ability to respond and support the ambulance transports that I mentioned earlier in my presentation. And that completes my presentation unless you have questions.
I just want to thank you for ensuring that Fire Station 64 had the rapid response program there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have a verbal report by the medical director? Yes. No. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chief Terrazas. Assistant Chief Ellsworth Fortman, Emergency Medical Services Bureau. Commissioner Woods-Gray was firefighter paramedic Chris Vidukel, who's one of our TEMS paramedics, who's assigned to FR 64 also. That's who was there. Mm-hmm. Somebody would know. He's one of our newly trained TEMS specialists at 64s.
Yeah, he's very nice.
He is. Los Angeles Fire Department responded on January 14th to both Jordan High School and 93rd Street Elementary School with reports of students being feeling a substance dropped on them from above when a Delta Airlines flew over. It was, as we later found out, it was the jet fuel they were dropping. They were dropping that fuel prior to landing. We did assess 16 patients. They had very minor symptoms, nothing that required transport, so none of them were transported. They were all evaluated. Everything was documented, and they were released either to school officials or to their parents. Also on January 14th, we had Engine and Rescue 87 respond to an 86-year-old female. The initial call came in as she was feeling not well, but awake and alert at home. Engine and Rescue 87 arrived to find her in full cardiac arrest. They worked her up. They stayed on scene for 25 minutes. With the workup, they got full breathing and pulses back within about 5 minutes of being on scene. They continued the workup and then transported her to an appropriate facility where she is still recovering. And then on January 18th, Engine and Rescue 46 responded early in the morning, around 1 in the morning, to a 29-year-old male who was actually having a stroke. They were able to spend time, decipher exactly what was going on with this individual, figure out that he was having a stroke, and transport him to an appropriate stroke facility where he is now recovering also. And that's the end of my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Chief. And we have one presentation, right?
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Fire Chief Terrazas, City Attorney, Ms. Gomez, Eric Scott, Captain 2 and Public Information Officer. Today we'd like to recognize members of the Los Angeles Fire Department that serve as Cadet Post Advisors. So it would be appropriate this time to ask these fine members to please come up and stand next to the podium. And as the cadet program continues, it really is the top tier of the youth programs, and thanks to the countless hours of dedication and hard work by all of these members. And in speaking with them, if you are asked to why they want to serve as cadet post advisors, most of them would answer that they simply want to make a difference in a young person's life. So the fire department currently has 15 cadet posts throughout our 4 different geographic bureaus, with a lead post advisor and several supporting assistant advisors at each post. So in addition to their normal daily routine and their responsibilities, these members also sacrifice time in their off hours and are extremely dedicated to sharing their experience and their wisdom with the next generation of firefighters coming up. So these post advisors not only teach about the fire service, but they also teach about life skills. They even assist people with college applications. They truly wear many different hats between mentors, parental figures, confidants, all in these cadets' lives. And they've proven to be exceptional role models for these youths. So it is important to mention, too, that our post advisors recognize that some cadets have problems at home, and they really find the fire station to be the safe and nurturing environment. So many of these advisors that are standing before you are former cadets themselves, who attribute their success in the fire service to the men and the women that really mentored them along the way. And as such, they're looking to give back to what was so generously given to them. So in closing, these post advisors, they serve as boots on the ground in promoting goal number 4 of the Strategic Plan 2.0, which is enhance community sustainability and resiliency. So we'd like to ask if everyone would please join Fire Chief Terrazas in acknowledging the exceptional contributions of these cadet post advisors.
I'm very pleased that all these cadet post advisors could be with us here this morning, including one cadet post advisor from Los Angeles County Fire Department. 2 weeks ago, my truck was sitting in my driveway at home, and somebody put an LA County Fire Department decal on my window next to the LA City Fire Department decal. And I did post that on Facebook, and I said, I think I'll keep it. It shows my respect for the second best fire department in the world. So we're glad to have you here. These firefighters come to us from throughout the city. One of them's from the Wilmington Fire Station, and it turns out it's a female firefighter. The other ones are from stations that I've worked at throughout my career. And this is just one program amongst many that we utilize to develop our young people from within the city so that perhaps in the future, when they grow up, if they have the right path, they can become firefighters for the world's finest fire department. In addition to our cadet post program, we do have Crew 3. I see firefighter Wingate here. We have a lot of firefighter recruits that go to the drill tower from Crew 3. We have our 5 high school magnet programs throughout the city. We finally achieved that goal. Very proud of that program. We have Girls Camp. Very, very successful. We do 2 of those per year. We have the Metro Fire Academy programs. So when you look at the totality of the youth programs, we are, I believe, on the forefront of the effort to create a very diverse population of firefighters that come from within the city. And I have to thank all of you, especially Commissioner Glazer. You've had a lot of input in getting us to this point. As you recall, 6 years ago, we had a lot of challenges. And now we're starting to see things to come to fruition. This is one of them. Earlier, Chief Poyer talked about our FRV program. Think about that. Now we're going to have 5. We have them already, 5 FRVs throughout the city. And I can go on and on and on. There's a long list of accomplishments. So to focus on this group, they're amazing. They don't do it for any extra pay. And some of these firefighters look like they could be cadets themselves. That's a compliment. They do this because they want to give back. They want to give back. And, you know, Dr. King, yesterday was his day. And I think about a quote Commissioner Woods Gray shared with us. The quote that I think about is that the most persistent and urgent question is, are we doing enough to help others? And if you look at all our department, the things that we're doing for the youth, the things that we do every day when we respond to the 911 calls, I'm very proud to say that the men and women of the Los Angeles City Fire Department are helping others. Congratulations. I'm very, very proud of you.
Can I just make a quick comment? This makes me so happy to see all of you here. Chief Charles said 6 years ago, we started pushing together down this road of saying, how do we improve the youth programs in this department? I went out and looked at some of the cadet programs. Then Engineer Wu, were you? It was pre-Captain Wu, I think. Were you Captain Wu at that point? Firefighter Wu. And what I saw there was this program that just needed some care and some support to grow. I appreciate you all stepping up. It's really great to see you here. I'm so glad we have the opportunity to honor you today. Thank you so much for your contribution. You are truly, not only making a difference in this department, the future department. I know, having come from a background in youth work, you make a difference in the communities that you work in, and there's just no substitute for the positive role models and for that opportunity to have a safe place for kids to go and to learn about a career that can be really rewarding for them. Thank you. I very much appreciate everything you do.
I know nothing, sir. Can I have a back?
I know, right? I know. A lot on the agenda. But this is great.
I know, see, man. Where are you working? 114. Hey, how's it going, man? How's that big dummy doing that? He's good. He's going retirement. You're good. I see. Good. How are you? Sir. Sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for what you do, bud. Appreciate it. Thank you, man. You did a lot for us.
Okay. People can continue to mingle, but I need to keep this moving because I need to leave soon. So, yeah, can we do the consent agenda items?
All right, move to adopt items 4A through 4D. Adopt the recommendations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. So we're going to go a little bit out of order because I may have to leave soon. So we're going to start with 5D, which is report by the department on the Los Angeles Fire Department's Recruit Training Academy overview.
Good morning, Madam President,
Good morning.
Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, City Attorney. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Stephen Skelly, Battalion Chief in charge of the Recruit Services section, and I'm honored and kind of excited here to present to you our report in the Recruit Training Academy overview. We've made some great accomplishments in our past reporting period. This board report will reflect data and analysis from the time recruit firefighters enter the academy through the end of their probation. The timeline to obtain a full data set from the academy class takes about 18 months to mature, and this report will capture data from 6 classes. The data parameter used to ensure consistency in presentation and analysis include new hires, and that's the number of new recruit firefighters for one academy, graduates, which refers to the recruits who successfully completed the academy, and then the completed probation portion refers to probationary firefighters who have successfully completed their field internship, which is that 365-day probation. Starting with the in status section, this includes all data fields of new hires, graduates, and completed probation. There were 3 academy classes 17-1, 17-2, and 17-3 that met these parameters. And it was found that there was an 85% academy retention rate at graduation, which is a 2% increase from our last report. Also, the probationary retention rates remain constant with our last report at 97%. The ongoing status section measured 2 classes, 18-1 and 18-2, and includes 2 of the 3 data fields of new hires and graduates. This population of recruits have graduated from the academy or are still progressing through their probationary period. And a few highlights include that diversity in the academy remains consistent through graduation. You can see that chart on page 722. Female representation equaled 11% of total graduates. This is an increase of 4% from the previous reporting period, which is an increase of 7%. And female representation totaled 15% of new hires, which is a 6% increase from our last report. In the current status section, includes 1 academy class, that's 18-3, and they've since graduated on November 21st, and they're progressing well in the field. According to the August 6th quarterly diversity report, the female population of LAFD comprised of 3.49% of uniformed members. By comparison, females in Class 18-3 represented 10% of new hires, which is 3 times the current female population of the LAFD. The report includes analysis of the goals that were set forth in our previous academy report. Goal number 1 was to increase female recruit firefighter retention at graduation by 2%. The recruits from classes 14-1 through 17-3 have graduated and completed probation. The analysis shows that the retention rate for female graduates has been 59%. Classes 18-1 and 18-2 graduated 67% of their female population, resulting in an 8% increase in retention. This positive trend could be a result of the department's efforts and action plan as discussed in the previous report that included candidate preparation by means of physical fitness and knowledge of tools and equipment, which was accomplished through baseline testing and enhancement to our CAP program. Goal number 2 was to increase overall recruit firefighter retention at graduation by 2%. In reviewing the analysis and data specific to retention rates and comparing the Recruit Academy data from the previous reported to the present, it's evident that retention rates have been improved by 2%, thus meeting our goal. Our current retention rates are 85%. This is a definite positive trend in retention of recruit firefighters in the academy, as the department has had a historical retention rate in the academy of 80%. Goal number 3 was to evaluate the Candidate Advancement Program attendance. And since our last report, we've made adjustments to our CAP program to target candidates that are in the hiring process. The decrease in the total number of participants was intentional. Decreasing the amount of participants has produced a better program. It's allowed our staff to focus on the candidates that are actually in the process. In the past, we allowed anyone to participate in the CAPS program, and we were actually the fitness program for a local fire academy. We've made several enhancements to the CAP program, which include adding 1 night a week to Drill Tower 40 and adding handling tools and equipment to our Saturday program. Our 2021 performance targets associated with the Academy will continue to be an increase female retention rates at graduation by 2%, maintain current overall recruitment retention rate at graduation, and to continue to evaluate the CAP program attendance for rate and occurrence. And in an effort to provide every candidate with the very best chances of success, we've made several enhancements to our program. Examples would be modifications to our lay line grading criteria, the invention of a hose drag tool which simulates the weight of a flowing 1 3/4 hose line, developing early preparation for practical application portion of the Academy. We've conducted relentless grade sheet review for consistency and practicality. We developed a reassignment refresher program. We have developed and maintained a relationship with our stakeholders, enabling recruits to get additional training on off-duty days. We've conducted annual staff calibration, where we've invited speakers in our chain of command, the fire chief, operations chief, training support bureau, training division, recruit services section. We've invited risk management, behavioral health, and stakeholders. In this training, we've reinforced to the entire training staff the department expectations, the vision, the mission, the core values, to be sure that there is absolutely no question of the importance of maintaining a work environment conducive for learning, free from harassment, discrimination, or retaliation. I often visit the Academy located at Drill Tower 81. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge that our Academy instructors and staff are doing a great job, and I'm extremely proud of the work that they're doing. And finally, I'd like to thank Commissioners Nimberg and Woods Gray for setting time aside on their busy schedules for our meetings and discussing the Training Academy and moving forward. This concludes my report if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for this report. This is one of a series that you've given us, or your Bureau has given us over the course of several years. And it was born out of a concern about, our diversity initiatives and how different groups were progressing through the department. And, when this first came up, I think it was before, this says 2017. I seem to recall it was before. It was earlier than that. And then this was the last time that, I requested this one.
I believe this is our 3rd report, ma'am.
Yes, I believe that's right. There's at least 3 reports. It might be something before then as well. And so this was the genesis of this was to make sure that we were tracking how different groups are progressing. So, and my intent in doing that was not, to set off alarms in the department, because I always believed, and it's something that I reiterated in the letter that I drafted to Los Bomberos in response to their letter, was that the Drill Tower is a core operations of our department. It's intimately tied to that. So, I believe that the commission needs to defer to the chief, fire chief, the highest sworn officer in the department, in terms of what the standards there need to be.
Yes, ma'am.
So those standards need to be set by people who've actually been through the Drill Tower and have the most operational expertise in the department. So it's not something that can be usurped by the commission or by civilian members of the department. It should be vested with the members. And this is something that I've discussed with the fire chief, and I know that the fire chief agrees with me strongly on this point. I know that the mayor's office agrees with me on this point. So I feel like I need to make that statement so that everybody understands that there's no effort to lower the standards, that it's not going to be usurped by civilian members of the commission. It's going to be, it's going to be vested in people with a badge. So having said that, I think that there's also a concern that just because we keep tracking the numbers of who graduates, who doesn't graduate, I understand that there's going to be disparities because there are physical requirements to it. what we need to see is we need to continue to see progress. And I think with this report, what I'm seeing is that there is progress going on, and that people, there's going to be setbacks. It's going to be different every time because everybody's an individual and people have different strengths. But overall, what I'm seeing is that this is going in the right direction. That's what this report, that was the genesis of it. And I know that, and this is before you were doing the report, I made you guys go back several times for it to give us the requisite detail. I mean, I feel like you're getting, this is an excellent report. It has all the detail, and it also shows the progress that we're making. And overall, it's going in the right direction. So I'm very happy with this one.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'd like to, I commend you on the report, too, because it is very thorough. And it also gave information about the many different kinds of things that have been tried, or we can see the changes that have taken place. While I visited the academy, the recruit program, training program, ever since it started, I went there. I've observed testing.
Yes, ma'am, I remember you.
I've observed all different portions of the program. So I'm glad to see that there are things that are taking place. I especially like the fact that you also have a lot of opportunities for the participants to go to the CAP program at different times in different places. And hopefully that will help them to get there, because that's a very valuable resource that this department offers that other people don't, in other professions, would not be able to get or to receive. And I do believe that I can never tell a firefighter what they need to know. It's just clear and simple. I can never tell them, because they know better than anyone else what they need to know. And so, therefore, I would never, ever be trying to set the standards, develop the curriculum at a fire station. I could have input into it, because when I first went there, I watched the procedure in which things were taught, and they were clearly taught the way they should be taught. You gave the instruction, then you went out and you practiced, and then you had the test later. It was clearly following the educational guidelines that were good educational programs would follow. So I could do that, but when could not tell you what the curriculum would be, because I don't know that. And so I'm saying that I would never try to change anything that's being taught. There are different ways of teaching, which I question sometimes, because I do clearly know that there are, as a teacher, there are many ways of teaching standards. Of whatever you want people to learn, there are many different ways of teaching it. Just as most of you know, in mathematics, you come up with how many ways can you solve a problem? There's probably as many ways as there are people sitting there, right? Okay, so it's one of those kinds of things. I think that there may be different ways of doing some of the things. So, but what I'm happy about is that you're looking at it and you're thinking about it, and things are being done. So
thank you.
I think that's good. That's improvement, Chief, from when we first started. Okay. So I always appreciate the improvement and the willingness of the staff to listen and to meet with you and to explain things that are going on. So that's valuable, because we're interacting, and I may be seeing something that they're not seeing. I may be hearing things that they're not hearing, but we work together. We don't try to change anything. I'm not trying to change the standards, but I want us to work together and to continue to work together, just as we have been working together on these particular issues and trying to straighten out the little kinks. They're no big, the recruitment training program is good, as it is, but I just don't want people who pass to just be like the A students who are going to pass anyway. But the ones who may have needed a little bit extra help, I'm still interested in those. And I do plan to visit the new program, because I missed graduation for the first time.
Oh, no.
And I missed the parent orientation, so I don't know what the group looks like out there. So I have to go and visit. And if anybody has a program from graduation, I sure would like to see what that group looked like also. But thank you again, and we'll continue to work together.
Hey, Chief Scully. How are you? Thanks so much for this report. I really do appreciate it. And I know that the intention of the department is to make this recruit program the best it can possibly be. And I know.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know that that's what you are doing.
Thank you.
I do want to say I love this image of 18-3 of the diversity breakout. A little, a little bit more reflective of the city, so that's good. Two requests. I would like to. There is a chart. Can we get this report quarterly? I'd like it to come to commission quarterly. And can we get 2.1, the chart, just broken out the next time, and then so we can get kind of a status report by class, because all the other ones are broken out by class, but this one kind of is bundled together. So I'd like to see 2.1 separated out by class.
Page 7, 2.1, broken by class.
Yeah, exactly. And then and I do appreciate the mature data waiting, a year and 5 months. But if we can get kind of, for the next report that comes, we can get kind of current data that's happening, and so we can kind of get a snapshot. But I love that, like CAPS, you have 29% female. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's great. I mean, that's, I know the baseline helps. I think that a lot of these initiatives have been helpful. I think that there are still things that we can work on.
I'm very optimistic with our future classes.
Yeah. So next quarter, 3 months, you can come back.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one public comment.
Madam President, may I make
yes.
a few comments? Chief, if he could hang out for a little bit. Number one, I got to give credit to Chief Rideout and his team. They have been, and it's not to isolate them. I was in the drill tower as a peer grouper and as a Captain 1. Therefore, I deeply appreciate the comments of leave the operational stuff to us. Any audits, we welcome honest dialogue. And if we can identify any practice that may not be relevant, we'll take another look at it. That's what the four-way analysis has led us to believe, the hose drag, the emphasis on CAPS, because we're always looking, how do we do better? How do we ensure that our firefighters leave the drill tower ready to hit the field? The number one thing that drives all our effort is firefighter safety. I think we all can agree we cannot do anything that's going to impact firefighter safety. Years ago, I was a captain in the field, and we had recruits who shouldn't have graduated. And because they didn't have the necessary skills and or strength, we had to do our job and their job, which is not safe. So I'm very happy with the results of the drill tower staff. The data shows we're making strong incremental progress, and my direction is to continue that. Let's have that honest dialogue. It may be uncomfortable discussion, but I think at the end of the day, it's better for us. So thank you for your support on this issue. I look forward to having more discussion in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Skelly. We have one comment from Freddie Escobar from UFAC.
Good morning, President Ibarra.
Good morning.
Chief Terrazas, Honorable Commissioners, City Attorney. Welcome back, Leticia. Freddie Escobar, President of the United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, Local 112, representing over 3,500 firefighters, paramedics, dispatchers, inspectors, and pilots of the great Los Angeles Fire Department. UFLAC is proud of the excellent training record the LAFD has earned amongst its peers and across the nation. We believe that our reputation as the nation's premier fire department comes with the expectation that our members should perform and meet the highest standards, period. We want to go on the record to state that our members support the department's high level of excellence, whose qualifying standards for recruits should never be compromised regardless of race, gender, or ethnicity. Any lowering of standards or shifting of metrics that can impact our high standards would potentially put our members at risk, as mentioned by Chief Terrazas. Safety on the job is of paramount importance to the members I represent. We thank you, look forward to continuing this vital work in cooperation with the department and this commission to ensure we stay as a golden standard for fire safety. I want to thank you, Chief Terrazas, your command staff, the Chief Officers Association, Los Bomberos, women in the fire service, and the Stentorians for the solidarity on this important issue. Thank you very much. And last, thank you, Commission, for recognizing to allow the department to lead the ways of the operations in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we can vote on this.
Okay, move to adopt the recommendations for this is item 5D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moving on to 5C, which is continued from November 19th, 2019, report by the independent assessor on the quarterly progress report on the audit of the Drill Tower.
Good morning. I'm Sue Stengel, independent assessor.
5C?
Oh, 5C.
Yeah.
Good morning.
When this was last on the agenda, you asked to consider it for once again, so it is back on the agenda today for your further consideration and discussion.
So I think the last time we were going to give you guidance on some of the topics, and I think I'm looking for the report. Sorry, I think there was an issue about what the purpose of. Oh, thank you. Oh, great. Right. So the big thing. There was an issue about whether we, so for me, whether a lot of this was going to yield any information that's new, because we know that there is an nexus between height and weight, and certain other issues here. So, but since this was last before us, I've sort of thought about this more, and more in light of the fact that we've had a lot of discussions in the department about some of the issues concerning the Drill Tower. And I sort of think that it's fine to look at all these metrics. It's, given the access to records, it might take a long time to do it, and it's a lot, because it's a lot of redaction, blah, blah, but I'm fine with doing it like this. What I think is sort of more important is to have a discussion as to why we're doing it, because I think that there's what I sort of intuited from some of the letters was anxiety about, what is the commission trying to do with the audit? Are we trying to change the standards of the Drill Tower? And so I think that I just want to, what I would like to do is get consensus from the commission as to the statement that I made earlier, which is that we're not trying to change the operational standards of what it takes to make it through the Drill Tower, that we sort of will defer to the sworn members of the department who have the most operational expertise to develop those standards and not usurp them, and that's not a goal of this. I think if we do that, it relieves a lot of the anxiety. And I think that we only move forward as a department and as leaders of the department if we get buy-in from the members in the department. And if they're having anxiety about it, I think we should assuage it. So I'm putting that out there. I think that that's what we should do.
So then what is, in your view, is the goal of the information.
So I think the goal of this is to, it's more about how we do recruitment, because obviously if we're failing with people who have a certain height and weight, and they have a higher failure rate when they go into the drill tower and to the fire academy, we should be careful about how we do that. If we know that people who have athletic ability and demonstrated athletic participation in colleges do better, then we should focus on that, because those are the people that are going to have the best chances of succeeding. Or people who have BAs or whatever it is, have a higher rate of success, then that's who we focus. So it's more about recruitment and less about what the standards of the drill tower are going to be. That's what I think it should be.
What if we just let the data, just get the report, and then we can have a discussion? I'm not, as a commission, nobody's, we're not firefighters, but let's just get some data, and so we can get a picture of it. I think that is.
But so are you saying you don't want to assuage the anxiety in the department that we're trying to change the standards of the drill tower?
But is this report about that?
Is that, yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just to look at it. No.
130C.
So all I'm saying is that if you just say that's not what we're trying to do here, it just relieves a lot of anxiety. That's all I'm saying. If you say that's not what we're trying to do,
look,
you're not willing to do that.
Our job is to provide oversight and guidance to the department. Period. That's the purview of our commission. I recognize that we can't step up to a fire line and direct them where to put the water, right? I've never tried to do that. But it is our job to ask questions about where data leads us. And I'm not willing to say that and this is a hypothetical situation, so I want to just be clear. In a very hypothetical situation, right, if the data comes back and suggests that there is some standard that is having an adverse impact on a subgroup, right, that is blatant, right? So for example, our chief investigator told a story about in the 50s how her father, when he came on, he managed to get himself on the LAPD. At that point, there was a standard where you had to have straight teeth, right, in order to get on the department. And there was a standard you needed to hit a certain height. And those were standards that were specifically designed to keep out people of color and people in poverty, right? Now, I'm not suggesting, let's be clear, I'm not suggesting that this department has a standard that is blatantly racist and classist like that one. But should that pop up, I'm not going to say that we wouldn't be able as a commission to say that's wrong. You need to change that. Okay. So I'm not willing to say blanket statement that if we get something back that shows that there is something that the data leads us to believe needs to be changed, let's be clear, that does not equate to a lowering of standards. We change standards around here all the time because they meet the facts on the ground of what as a department we need. We didn't used to, sometimes we increase standards. So, sometimes we change them in a way that requires more, rather. I'm not going to say increase, requires more of something. Sometimes we change them in a way that requires less of something. These are not lowering or raising. These are changes that respond to the modern times. And this is that uncomfortableness that I'm talking about when I say, look, when everything falls under this boogeyman of people are going to die if people don't have straight teeth, I'm not buying it. So let's see where the data leads us. Yes, the chief has operational authority over what happens in this department, and it is our job to ask questions and to question what's going on with regard to the meeting of certain goals. That is what I intend to do when we get the data back, to say, do we have a set of operational standards that are allowing us to meet the goals we need to meet to provide the best service to the city and to meet the goals of a modern department?
Okay, so that's where that anxiety in the department is coming from, is what you just stated. So
correct, and that's what I'm addressing as a cultural problem, is a fear of having an honest discussion. And let's be clear, if this commission has an honest discussion about what we learn, as a commission, there's not going to be some sort of like lightning bolt out of the sky that says, okay, now we're no longer going to throw ladders in the drill tower. Right? That's just not going to happen. What we will have is an honest discussion to say, hey, does this make sense or not? And maybe there needs to be an assembling of stakeholder groups that come together and have discussion. Maybe there's some additional investigation that we can do. None of this will happen quickly.
Right.
It never does.
So, I mean, there's also the question of as to whether it's, this is what the independent assessor's, job is to do this, is to look at these operational issues within the drill tower. So you can do audits, and, initially it was contemplated that it would be audits of the disciplinary process.
So you're asking a different question now.
No, but that's also whether this is why this has taken so long. Also, it's because it's like, access to records and also like operational expertise and capacity to look at those issues. You were going to say something, Chief?
I've taken in the conversation, and I support the gathering of data. And I think the data will lead us to possible improvements in recruitment and in the drill tower. So say I was looking at some of the things that we're going to be measuring. If we identify a population that's very successful because they come from a collegiate athletic background, and we can take that in the drill tower to support our CAPS program, which develops physical strength and agility. We know that now, but it's not a deep dive in that data. We recruit at college campuses. We recruit from the military. Our feeder programs are excellent from the youth programs and cadet posts, things like that. But I support a deeper dive into exactly which things are working and which things are not. The example Commissioner Glazer shared of Cynthia Hernandez's father, I know we're not going to find anything like that, and you put it as a hypothetical. We might find something that has the impact is a discriminatory impact in general. And then I think we take another look at that. Is there another way that we can test that? I also believe that 100% of the people who get to the drill tower are not likely to graduate. 100%. I think we're making progress. We just heard that the most recent calendar year was 15% attrition. Our historical attrition rate is 20%. That's a 5% improvement. I think we can bring that 15% further down. The goal would be to get to 0, but that's not realistic. I think realistic is incremental improvement based on data.
Madam President?
Yes.
I was going to speak, but I support, the Chief has just about said what I would support. I really believe that the data needs to be collected, and then we react to the data, not to the possibility of collecting data. But, and if something is blatantly outstanding, then the Chief has already said what I've thought. Everybody would want to do something about it if they felt it was going to improve the recruitment department. So I really would like to move ahead with the collection of the data and then have this, and Lord knows, we probably won't even be on this commission when this data comes.
After all the redactions are done.
Because it takes, I mean, it's a long process.
It's a long process.
And there's not enough staff. So I think but the idea is that you can always say this commission had good intentions, and by moving ahead and collecting data, that at some point might help. We don't know whether it will help improve or not. It may be everything may be going just right, doing fine. But the thing of it is, I think that data, since this department is data driven also, this would be really great to do.
Yeah, I agree. And you have all the data, correct?
I do not.
You don't? I thought...
No, there's redactions and stuff that are still happening. She doesn't have access. She only has access to personnel records that relate to discipline. That's what we voted on. I think it was last year or a year and a half ago. I forget. But we did vote on that. Sort of expand her access, but it's not unlimited access to all personnel records.
How long? What is it? I thought you had all of the data. So, how long is it going to be until you get it?
That's the department is working on it. It's not. I don't think Sue knows.
How long has this been going on?
I don't know.
I mean, when did you open it up?
We started receiving information, I'd say several months ago. So the department is working on getting that to us and completing it.
That would be, I don't want to wait till we're off. I mean, I think it's important to look at, right? I think, that's could be anywhere from 1 to 3 years. Do you know how long? Is there a date? No, not you.
I don't know the specific ask. I do know that we have staff assisting Ms. Stengel in collecting the data. Does anybody, Chief Rideout, do you have anything to add to that, the process?
Chief Skelly says he might.
Yeah, we were asked by Ms. Stengel in the Independent Assessor's Office to provide data from certain groups, and they were deciding which those groups were. We have redacted probably the requested data from probably about 4 or 5 classes, and we put it in we're working on what's the easiest way to put that in there. We can continue. It is very labor intensive to go through and do all the redactions. With additional help, we could go through. I'm not sure how long it would take, and I don't know how many classes that we actually need yet. But we've been working with the independent assessor, and we can provide that in a timely manner as long as we have staff to continue to get that, to do the redactions. With the redaction, it makes the data very difficult because we have to actually go through, photocopy each grade sheet, each file. Some of them are very thick, and then someone has to manually go through with an iPad and actually redact everything. Programs don't really redact it because it's a lot of grade sheets most of them are handwritten, so the redaction programs don't really work. So we're doing it by hand.
Is the sampling approach helping to try to allowing you to collect a sample of data rather than as much as that we're already doing? Ms. Engel, are you already requesting sample data versus like blanket data?
Right. So the last time I presented to you, I think it was.
It's in the report.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm seeing. You're right. So we're doing the sampling.
250 recruits, and yes, that's what Chief Skelly has.
Okay, you're working on samples. Okay.
Is it possible to set a timeline so that we can make sure that this is getting collected in a timely fashion?
What's the scope? Do we want every class from 6 years ago? We have 4 or 5 classes of data right now.
Here's a sampling. Just a sampling.
Sampling because to take the whole classes.
No.
Why?
Yeah. Do you want to take that?
Yes. So as I mentioned in the report, we did I'll call it a scientific analysis to come up with our sample of 250 recruits. The 250 recruits span all of the classes, which I believe is 16 classes, but please don't quote me on that. It's about 16 classes, and all ethnicities and the male-female population. So that is the information that we provided to the department, and that is what they are working on getting to us.
Chief, would you consider an allocation, a small allocation for some part-time help for Chief Skelly?
Is that for the fire chief?
Yeah, sorry. This chief. Sorry, there's too many chiefs in the room. Perhaps just a small allocation of a little bit of part-time help, even if it was 50 hours of part-time help, that probably would make life a little easier.
We'll work with Chief Rideout and allocate the necessary funds to support this effort.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Does the redaction have to be done by sworn staff, or can clerical
I have no
people do it? Those agencies that we hire, that we have on hold to hire.
I'll defer to Chief Skelly. Could you answer that, please?
We've been using responsible sworn members to do that because of all the just so we don't things just don't
confidential information.
Confidential issues. So I prefer to keep it. That way, if we can, or at least people who are sworn within the training division. They're sworn and the clerical within the training division.
How far are you, and how long will it take to go through? It was 250 files?
30. We've probably redacted at least 30 files, and I don't have the data in front of me.
Okay.
Sure, I can go back and research today and maybe do a quick email to kind of let you know where we're at.
Yeah, or maybe report back to commission. Yeah, in 30 days. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. And we don't have any public comments for this item, so we can vote on it.
Okay. Move to adopt the recommendations for item 5C.
Do I have a second? Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Ms. Stengel, can you stay up there for the next item is 5H, report by the independent assessor on the quarterly report of audits.
Thank you. As you can see, we're working on 4 different audits: the drill tower, which we just discussed, our annual report of how the department handles complaints of misconduct, an audit of the drone program, and we're doing an audit based on your requests related to sexual harassment dating back to 2013 and settlement agreements. Those last 2 will probably end up splitting into 2 separate audits for a total of 5.
How do you propose to split them up?
The EEO / sexual harassment, and then the settlement agreements.
Oh, I thought they were always separate. No?
I sort of had them as one based on your discussions because they came out of that previous audit, but I believe they're going to be 2 different ones.
Different. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Adopt the recommendation, or move to adopt the recommendation for item 5H.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I need to excuse myself, and Commissioner Glazer is going to take over. I'll just pass this over to.
Okay. So we're gonna. Is Chief? Do we have the necessary staff for items 5A and B yet, or are we waiting? Okay, so let's hold those for a little while longer. So then we're going to move to. Let's move to 5E. This is a report by the Department of the Firesat Section Status Report on Firesat Meeting data trends from 2016 to third quarter of 2019.
Good morning. Drew Steinberg, Firesat Manager. In 2017, 2018, and 2019, the Department continued implementing the performance management process through Firesat inspection meetings. Through the implementation of Firesat inspection meetings, the Department has seen improvements in turnout time by an average of 15 seconds, the time between activation of station alerting devices to when the first responders put on their PPE and are aboard apparatus and en route, wheels rolling, citywide as well as on the station level. Additionally, Firesat inspection meetings have been held in various bureaus, divisions, and sections within administrative operations. Improvements in the ability to track and meet benchmarks has been seen across the administrative operations bureaus, divisions, and sections that participate in the Firesat inspection meeting process. For instance, Supply and Maintenance Division, through the Firesat process, has been able to identify areas to streamline their self-contained breathing apparatus, fit tasting, and increase work productivity. Firesat is working on all levels to establish a foundation of performance management that improves the department's effectiveness and efficiency. The Firesat section also acts as the stewards of the department's data, serving both internal and external requests for information, data, and reports. The attached graphs will help visualize the department's response time data for call processing time, turnout time, travel time, and operational response time. The graphs show the monthly averages of the metrics for 2016, 2017, 2018, and the first 3 quarters of 2019. The metrics have been analyzed for EMS incidents, non-EMS incidents, as well as critical advanced life support, ALS, for operational response time. FireStat continues to evolve as we add new technology and as we continue to manage the department's performance. With FireStat, the department is able to analyze its effectiveness and efficiency on all levels. With that, may I take any questions?
I have a comment. Good job, Drew, and your whole team. FireStat is, we take it for granted now, but 6 years ago we didn't have FireStat. Whenever we see an area that needs improvement, we FireStat it, and we hold people accountable, and we see improvement. And it's been consistent, and every year we self-analyze and decide what other areas should we consider for FireStat. So it is growing, it's evolving, and it works for us. And congratulations on a great job so far, and some great things to happen in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Drew.
And happy to hear about the turnout time is improving, and we can document it. That's great.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, do I have a
move to receive and file?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. There's no comment on that item. We will go to item 5F, report by department on the update of Los Angeles Fire Department Youth Development Programs.
Good morning, Vice President Glazier, Commissioners Nimberg, Hara, Woods Gray, Fire Chief Terrazas, City Attorney, Ms. Gomez. My name is Justin Backtat, Captain 2, Acting Section Commander of the Firefighter Recruitment Section, with an update on the youth development programs. The youth programs continue to grow in popularity and are part of a long-term strategy to hire diverse candidates that represent the City of LA. We continue our efforts to improve and standardize each of the programs and the training for department members and volunteers working with youth. We have 4 programs that are part of a progressive pathway open to youth 14 to 20 years old. The first tier is Girls Camp. It's a 2-day female empowerment camp and an introduction to the fire service. It's held twice a year. The first camp was held March at Drill Tower 81 in the Valley in partnership with Council District 6 and Council Member Nuri Martinez, where we had 93 participants. The second camp was held September at Drill Tower 40 in San Pedro in partnership with Council District 15 and Council Member Joe Buscaino with 42 participants. In total, we had 135 participants this year. Tier 2 of the Progressive Pathway is the Firefighter EMS High School Magnet Program. We are currently in 5 high schools geographically spread throughout the city. Phineas Banning in the Harbor, Susan Miller Dorsey in the Crenshaw District, Woodrow Wilson in East Los Angeles, James Monroe in the San Fernando Valley, and this last fall we added West Adams in the Pico Union District. We have 435 total participants in the program with over 30% female. We work with the coordinators on the final draft of the MOU, which is back with LA Unified School District for ratification. And we also help reestablish a partnership between Banning and Harbor College to provide a pilot program of college courses down there. Also part of Tier 2 is the Youth Fire Instruction Recruitment Education Program, an 8-week program with up to 4 levels of instruction. We have 4 programs that run throughout the year: Metro, Valley, Harbor, and East Los Angeles College. Metro is held twice a year at Frank Hotchkiss Memorial Training Center. In spring, we had 121 participants. 26% were female. In the fall, we had 112 participants. Over 30% were female. Valley was held in the fall at Drill Tower 81. We had 82 participants. 23% were female. And Harbor was held in spring at Drill Tower 40, where we had 82 participants with 18% female. ELAC was held in the spring at Fred Koch Memorial Training Center, where we had 33 participants, 12% female. 96 of all youth fire program participants completed the Teen Cert training. The top tier, the LAFD Cadet Program, we have 16 cadet posts and 12 battalions. At the time of the report, we had delivered 2 cadet orientations, one at Fred Koch Memorial Training Center and one in the Valley, with all new cadets coming from within the LAUSD boundaries. We added 39 new cadets in July for a total of 250. 34 of that 250 are female. 4 cadets graduated from El Camino Paramedic Training Institute, and 40% of all new cadets in 2019 have attended multiple programs. We've improved the cadet database to increase accountability and tracking, developed a position description for the train to hire, which is currently at city personnel for job classification. And I'm most proud of the partnership that we developed with Arroyo Vista Healthcare Clinic to provide uninsured cadets with physical exams and options for health care. Goals for 2020 for Girls Camp: bring participation levels back up. For the high school magnets, have a joint graduation for all magnet schools with the exception of West Adams on May 16th for a total of 75 graduating students. Develop a summer pre-EMT program for 11th and 12th grade, and provide a pre-EMT course for 12th graders at Banning High School. For the youth fire programs, increase participation in the program to mitigate the long cadet wait list and promote the progressive pathway. For the cadet program, we're trying to add a cadet post in each battalion, deliver cadet bureau training, and organize a cadet muster. In closing, we will continue to work and increase participation of females and underrepresented youth across all programs. And we will utilize the progressive pathway to increase participation across multiple programs, reduce attrition, and increase retention. The firefighter recruitment section is committed to enhancing LAFD youth programs to ensure consistency and access for all youth. That's the end of my report. Thank you very much for your time. Is there any questions?
Great. Really solid progress here. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. I think in this last budget cycle things are a little tighter, but I hope to get back to, in our next budget cycle, back to trying to push a little more resources to the youth programs. But you guys are doing great work with what you've got right now. I appreciate the hard work of the team, and keep up the good work. Really good stuff happening.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I'd like to I also appreciate the work that you're doing and see evidence of it in the field, which is really wonderful to see the kind of progress that we're making with the youth programs. And I thank you for the work, because I know you and Trish and that whole team are really working really, really hard. And because of that, we're showing the progress. And I like the consistency that you're working toward, because that was important, that we have a consistency in the program. And the way that you're trying to get cadet posts all over the city, it's really coming together, because if we start with the youth, I think that will help to also improve our recruitment programs and for firefighters later on. And if not, we're training some great young people to go into the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'd like to add my comments after you, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. This is extraordinary compared to, what you've done in the last 6 years with Patricia as well. Congratulations. And
Captain Meza.
Yes, Captain Meza. Oh, Captain Meza. Hi. Excellent work. This is extraordinary. And to Commissioner Ibarra's point in the letter to the Bomberos, that the Hispanic population in the fire department does not reflect the city, but this creates a pipeline. And when you look at these numbers, I mean, it's pretty fantastic, and I'm really excited to see that 40% of cadets have attended youth programs. That is the intention that Commissioner Glazer set out to create, and it's so great to see it come to fruition. And I really see that this is how we get a department that truly, truly reflects the community it serves. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you, Captain Meza and Patricia as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add my congratulations. Remember, 6 years ago, we didn't have any high school magnets. We didn't have staffing for youth programs. We didn't have foundation support. Last June, Banning invited me to their graduation ceremony that we hosted at Fire Station 112 in San Pedro. And I heard a young lady and a young man give a little speech. And what they said proved to me that our plan is working, because they articulated their career path. They told the audience that now they want to be, the young man wanted to be a firefighter, the young lady wanted to be a police officer. And they shared with us that they were going to go to JC, then they're going to get their 4-year degree at a certain college, and then they're going to come back. The firefighter, future firefighter, came up to me after the event and said, "I'm going to work for you." And I told him, "Go for it. There's no reason you can't." And our vision 6 years ago was to create this pipeline to mentor and create role models for these kids who may not have role models at home. So, excellent work. This is another thing that this commission can take great pride in supporting, and it is working. And we may not see in our tenure the full effect, but we've created the pipeline. Great work. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
You know, I might also add, though, besides, becoming firefighters or police officers, they are all going to be better citizens as a result. So, really, I want to commend the program and move to receive and file.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. So now we will move to report by department on LAFD Community Mediation Partnership, item 5G. Oh.
Good morning, Vice President Glazer, Commissioners, Chief Terraza, City Attorney, Ms. Gomez. Steve Gutierrez, Assistant Chief, Professional Standards Division. In front of you is Board Report 19-149, which is the Department's update on the LAFD Community Mediation Partnership Pilot Program. First, I'd like to, the Department is with great gratitude that the Commission approved this pilot program because we believe in it. The recommendation is that review and file. I'd like to lay out just quickly a quick overview of progress, lessons learned, and some pending matters. In the summer of 2019, the Department embarked on this one-year pilot program to address and resolve citizen complaints stemming from service complaints and or misunderstandings, many of which are low-level acuity type of complaints. The program lays out, and for consideration for mediation, are the following: service call complaints, EMS protocol-related complaints, security complaints, and other low-acuity citizen complaints against LAFD members. This has been a great partnership with the City Attorney's Office with their Dispute Resolution Program, DRP, and working with their trained senior mediators there. Also like to acknowledge UFLAC and their support, and of course, the support of the Office of the Independent Assessor and Sue Stengel. They provided great input moving forward with this pilot program and continue to support the program. Thank you. Some of the progress. On July 25th, 2019, the LAFD took the first steps in embarking on this. We provided agency orientation to the senior mediators at the City Attorney's Office. This is where we gave them an overview of department culture, communications, and kind of a layout of how the department operates from time of a call to a call's received to when it concludes. In that time, we identified 3 cases for mediation. 2 of the cases moving forward with invites going out both to department members and the citizens did not move forward. The citizens were unfamiliar with the program and declined the invitation. However, 1 did. This was a complaint on conduct of members during a service call. The mediation took place back in September 30th, 2019 at a neutral location, and it was resolved. And one of the things, when I get to lessons learned, the most important thing was that the community really felt really good that the department was there to listen to them first and foremost, and also to understand how we operate. So it was a great success. Some of the lessons learned along the way were providing training to the investigators on how to identify potential complaints as they come in for the CMP program, developing an internal and formal referral process to effectively, uniformly and efficiently vet potential CMP cases, to assign, and will be done, assign 2 PSD members from the command staff to communicate involved parties, ensure that the liaison takes place between the community members and the department. We've also established a formal follow-up protocol with the mediators at the DRP. This is which a member of the command staff sits down and goes over the actual mediation that takes place. We take notes and then move forward with it. Some of the challenges is number 1 is first and foremost is the unfamiliarity with the program. We're now looking at how to market it through another porthole message, and also get out there and talk to members in terms of how valuable this program is. We currently have 3 cases that are pending, one of which is in its final stages to go to mediation, and they're very promising. Again, this is a program that the department believes in. It's one that it's more than just resolving what is considered a complaint. It also gives an opportunity for the citizen or the community to listen to what we do and educate them. It also gives us the opportunity to, whatever misunderstandings or that may have come out of that, to resolve them in such a manner that it's positive, it's more effective. In reviewing the department members that went through the initial one that was successful, they were very proud to have gone through it. They, in fact, had gone back to their own station and are starting to get the word out how valuable this program is. In conclusion, the LAFD is confident that the development of the CMP pilot program will foster positive relationships with the community as well as provide more transparency. Additionally, the CMP and other similar programs that engage the community to resolve issues are of great value. By the summer of 2020, the department intends to conduct a thorough assessment of the CMP to determine if the pilot period should be extended and efforts should move forward to establishment of an official CMP program should be undertaken. That concludes my report, and I'm available for questions.
Seems good. Sounds like it's going as glad it's underway. I believe our admin assessor, Ms. Stengel, had something to do with bringing the program in. Is that true? Did you help make a connection here?
The mediation between employees that the department does in partnership with the USC Law School.
Got it. Okay. Well, anyway, it's good to see this collaboration happening here and bringing in partners. I think this is a great step forward, and I'm really glad that that's moving forward. So congratulations to you on the work on getting this done.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is great.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
and there was, kind of briefly went over this. It was the unfamiliarity with the program that was causing people to not want to engage. What is the outreach?
It's still unfamiliar because it's a new way of doing business.
Right.
So like anything, just understanding what it is, there's always some reluctancy to new things. However, we do try and explain it, try and understand what they're getting into, and really try and offer up the value of it. And I think most members on our department like to engage with the public. However, on a scene of emergency, the timeliness isn't there at all times. So the fact that it takes place in a neutral location, they're wearing civilian clothes, it really sets the table for a good, valuable discussion with the community. So I believe in it. I think it's a great value, and I think that it'll continue, and we'll really get some greatness out of this program.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I look forward to seeing this grow. It's really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take a motion to receive and file.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. We will move now to item 5A, to report by the Department on the Unwanted Alarm Enforcement Program, first and second quarter of calendar year 2019.
morning, Vice President Glazer and other members of the Fire Commission, Chief Terrazas, Ms. Rafish. I apologize for the inconvenience, and I appreciate you indulging me. This is the Fire Prevention Bureau's report on unwanted alarm enforcement for the first and second quarter. Basically, our alarms, automatic alarms for the city, are in the area of just under 18,000 for the year. However, the significance of that number is the relatively or very small number of those that have resulted in an actual fire. And further research has shown that when we say actual fire, it's evidence of flame or evidence of fire. None of them have resulted in an actual structure fire where we've deployed numerous resources to those. So the automatic alarms are working, and then other preventive measures that are in place in these types of structures are working as well. If you notice on the second page, there has been some increase in our latest reports from fire. So there has been some increase in the automatic alarms that we've gotten and the other automatic alarm types that we respond to, such as water flow, bells ringing, or smoke detectors. And we surmise that some of those, again, goes back to the consistency and of the messaging that goes across the 4 bureaus and the bureau commanders' participation and support of the program, and also the increased adoption of our field resources in using our referral form, which we're in the process of modifying a bit so that we can gather more information. We're working on the disconnect between the referral form that we get and the information that it provides. Right now, we have them responding to or reporting when there are 3 or more, but we're trying to gather more information as to why that alarm happens so we can properly categorize those and then address the needs of that automatic alarm going off. We're continuing to work on the unwanted alarm ordinance, I think, which will, in everyone's opinion, will help us to really get our arms around the issue. Given the state of automatic alarms, them working properly is what we want. We don't want them to go away. However, we do want a better collaboration between business owners, the alarm companies, the fire department, and field resources to best manage that, to make sure that what we are responding to are legitimate calls, that systems are working properly, not only to alert us, but to protect the citizens or the residents that live in these buildings, especially properties that are of mixed use, business and residential. I won't belabor all of the particular statistics. One of the things that I will draw your attention to on page 4 are the information that we provide for you for LAX. We're continuing to work hand in hand with LAX to make sure that they are doing everything possible to minimize and to do some work, some preventive work, so those alarms won't go off. And our companies are continuing to remain diligent in responding to the automatic alarms that do happen there. And we are making an effort to get better reporting, because when an automatic alarm goes off in the airport, that goes to their police dispatch center. And a lot of the information that we were gathering was by written log. So we're trying to gather more accurate information to make sure that we are putting together a plan that specifically addresses the issue and not just written numbers, and we make sure that we are being concise with that. So I have nothing else to cover on that. I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Sure. Thanks for the report. So yeah, I'm glad you're making progress. I certainly, in my various travels in the field, definitely still see that disconnect happening between either understanding of how to report on unwanted alarms and what to do about them. Some people get it and they know what to do. Other people are like, I still don't know what to do, which perhaps goes to different learning styles. Really, I think finding different ways to communicate to the field of what to do about the unwanted alarms to try to deal with them, I think will continue to serve us in helping to reduce them. On the I appreciate the attempts to improve the reporting too. I know that getting better reports helps Fire Prevention Bureau just respond differently to to the problem out there and understand what to do there. So I'm interested to see how that goes. I certainly carry that message when I'm out there to say it's really important that you mark down exactly what happened the right way, so people understand the difference between the unwanted alarms versus versus things going off and the alarm working correctly, but it being a microwave oven with popcorn in it. On the airport, any more thought as to doing the pre-alarms on the pull stations? Is that something that we can help with getting done? Is putting pre-alarms on those pull stations?
And I'm going to answer this question, Garley. This has been 8 months for me in this position, so I can't speak intelligently toward it. And I don't know if Chief would like to, but I think our challenge always is what exactly caused the alarm, and there are so many variables that go into that. And part of the problem is, especially on the fire prevention side, we are addressing the issue well after it happened. Mm-hmm. And so it's really about making that engagement early, and then the continued conversations that are happening with LAX, our representatives there at LAX, and then the Fire Prevention Bureau to make sure that we're coming up with a plan to prevent it from happening. Yeah. And I think that's our best strategy.
Yeah. So what I'll relay to you is in having had some conversation with some of the individuals that feel work in there, what I hear is particularly on pull stations, which I think in the time period we're seeing here have never been the result of an actual emergency, perhaps a personal emergency when somebody was missing a flight, but not an actual emergency that would be sort of generally recognized, is that a good way to prevent that would be those pre-alarms, because at least when somebody flips it up and a pre-alarm goes off, you might see a reduction there. So that's been sort of floating around the ether. So I'd encourage you those pre-alarms I think they're not very expensive, and that may be something that we could really push with LAWA to say, can you please install the pre-alarm covers on the pull stations?
I see what you're saying. I didn't understand. But
sorry.
No, you make a very good point. Yes, yeah. And I think it's those kinds of collaborative ideas that we take in different perspectives to address the problem. And and I know schools have addressed that.
It helps with them too.
Alarms, things where pull stations are a problem. And what can we do to either set them up so that we can detect whether they are being pulled for a personal reason or not? But we'll take that back. Discuss it with the team, and
I would love to get some feedback, because that could be something. I think it's a relatively easy ask of LAWA to say, please install the plastic covers with the pre-alarms over the pull stations. It certainly couldn't hurt, and it's a relatively inexpensive prevention measure. So just put that out there. On LAWA also, it seems like. And looks like you've identified this, that construction remains one of the primary drivers of your false alarm or your unwanted alarms there. I don't know if this is something that needs to be in the ordinance or not, but again, just something, if we can get agreement with LAWA to add into all their contracts to say, if a fire alarm goes off that requires a response as a result of a failure to take appropriate preventative action on the part of the contractor, that gets billed to the contractor. That will make it stop quickly. And I don't know if that's something that needs to be included in the ordinance. I hesitate to monkey with an ordinance that is as far along as this one is, given the amount of time it's taken. But it may just be a matter of agreement with LAX to say, look, we can't bill another government entity and collect on that very well. But if you agree that you will then allow us to pass that through to the contractor to say we can bill the contractor for that, my guess is you'll see a pretty significant decrease in construction-related unwanted alarms. If you can pull it off with LAWA, you may be able to pull it off with LAUSD too. So I would say we've talked about it a couple of times. I know you're sort of relatively new to this particular issue area, but if you could just let us know what the response is from LAWA on that specific request, that would be great.
We're making some progress on the ordinance as we speak, so
great.
We'll consider that as well.
That's great. Also, on the fire code, I just can't remember what the answer was on this. I'd raised in the past a question about the fact that many unwanted alarms are due to water intrusion during rainstorms. They get into fire alarm systems and then cause those alarms, and we see those spikes happen during those wet weather. Is that something that we can change the fire code for the future installations of alarms?
It's possible.
Okay, check it out and just let me know. I've asked before, but I think I've heard when we look at the code again, but I thought we were looking at the code again now, so I'm just raising that for you. If you could just let me know what.
It definitely won't be in the 2020 because we just adopted that, but we can include that in the revision conditions or considerations for the next fire code, and if that is something that can be added into construction or building code.
Sure. So just. I asked about this a year and a half ago with the hope that it would be part of the 2020 code, and it looks like it missed it. So if you could just just give me an up or down of hey, this is something we could do, it would help, or we can't do it, and then I won't ask about it again. Okay. Okay. And if you can do it, then get a jump on it so that it doesn't get lost if it's something we're going to do. Last piece is, so I'm pleased to see that the ordinance is making its way. Do we have any sense of what timeline is on final review?
I do not.
Okay.
Because I am not overseeing the preparation of that ordinance or its review, but I do understand that the deputy city attorney who is engaged in that process was working very closely with, I believe, June and others relative to the use of the right terminology for purposes of the billing process.
Correct.
And once that terminology gets solidified, I believe the rest of the ordinance is ready.
So I can give you a brief update on that, and we have kind of narrowed down instead of to try to get rid of some of the ambiguity in the language, and that is correct. The bulk of the ordinance is complete. Now we're working with Drew Steinberg now on the actual ordinance creation, and those were a couple of the sticking points that we've been able to clarify now. I provided all those numbers to June because we needed to determine the rough percentage of automatic alarms that would ultimately be billed, and right now we're sitting at about 82%, and the billing company needed that information to be able to then send back a proposal. But the language on the ordinance is complete, and up to this point, it has been approved.
Okay.
So we've clarified that, sitting down with Chief Terrazas, Chief Crowley, clarified the language. And so we're moving forward. Our next meeting is actually scheduled on the books to meet with Drew, and then we are piloting now the interaction from the field on the MDC because it's going to require some interaction with them for the determinant of whether it's false, whether it was an actual alarm.
Yeah.
So we're going to pilot that piece with 10 task forces in the city to get that department feedback, the boots on the ground, to make sure that what we are proposing actually works and we get the feedback that we need. So once we finish that pilot, we should see some progress on it and be moving forward with getting final approvals for the ordinance.
Okay. I look forward to your next update on that issue, and here's to getting that done in 2020. Okay, that's all I got. Anybody else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep working. I'll entertain a motion at this point to
receive and file.
Receive and file. Very good.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Very good. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, last item here, item 5B, and we'll just go ahead and invite you to remain at the podium.
Very much.
Chief, report by Department on Unmanned Aerial Systems Policy Revision. Take it away.
I'll forego the formal introductions. Yeah, this is marks our 2 years now with an official UAS program. I'm very proud to say that in no uncertain terms, we are leading the country, we are leading the fire service, and we are recognized nationally or internationally for the type of work that we've done with UAS in public safety. The success of our program, by no means is it just me. I get to be the face of it, but the leadership from Chief Terrazas, the constant leadership and challenging from Chief Poyer, and the support of the Bureau commanders, Chief Crowley, where we're piloting inspection of brush parcels, public parcels, has just been fantastic. It keeps the team going to have the support by way of whether it's funding, vehicles, whatever it is that we've asked for. Slowly but surely, it's come on board, and so I cannot say enough how much we appreciate and how good the collaboration feels, especially in building something from the ground up. I would be remiss, and I have a couple of hats that I have to wear. One of our pilots, Dave Danielson, firefighter paramedic, and Inspector Steve Hamilton. It's faces like that keep us going. They're the ones that make sure that our team is trained. We currently have 8 pilots now. We have a cadre of about 17 that we work with, but these are the workhorses.
And the pilots raise their hands.
Yes, they can stand up if you don't mind. Firefighter paramedic Dave Danielson, Inspector Hamilton, and they are troopers. They truly are. When I need something, when I'm stuck somewhere, when I have to ensure that training is happening, these gentlemen are part of a small group that actually make it. So just wanted to recognize them. Thank you, gentlemen.
These are remote pilots?
Yes, they are.
Are they actually here, or are you remoting in? You're here. Okay. Sorry. I apologize.
That's good. That was good. Part of our strategic plan with the UAS program, we talk about expanding, and number 3, expanding the fleet to support all incident types, and we're moving toward that. One of our benchmarks was to move into supporting hazardous materials incidences. And again, with working with Steve Hamilton, the group at Coupa, we now have drone-mounted 5 gas meters and gas detectors that we can now are preparing to build SOGs so that we can deploy to hazardous materials incidences. On page 2, it specifically talks about some of the benchmarks, some of the things we're very proud of being a part of. Again, being directly involved in the development and the authorizing NFPA 2400, being the early adopters of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, their testing process for pilots. We're the first department to make that official, and we've not only been recognized by NASA, but we're also recognized by the federal government, Department of Interior, and the Forest Service in how our program has been put together. And they are looking to partner with us to model other programs around the country to standardize training for UAS. I'll speak right to the title for this particular board report obviously was the policy revisions. At Commissioner Ibarra's direction, we redlined the current policy, or red marked it so that it would be clear the changes that we were asking to make. The changes that we're asking for are mostly in phraseology. So a couple of them deal with some operational practices. As we've continued to expand, we've built confidence in our manned aircraft operators and how we integrate and support their operation as a force multiplier. And so there's some minor language that addresses that. But the majority of the language just goes into strengthening our policy when it comes to transparency and what we do with our records retention, how we manage the data that we collect, and then giving the public an opportunity or an avenue to comment, question, or challenge us on making sure that we are consistent with the policy. Again, the program continues to grow. We were very happy to be a part of the 2019 marathon. We hope to be a part of that on the operational side as well for this year. And we have supported, and I think to the pleasure of our Bureau commanders at some of our recent brush fires in providing some statistical data, mapping, hotspot detection, things like that allow them to mitigate that emergency more precisely, I would say. Again, in the interest of time, I won't belabor the point anymore, at which I'll just take questions from you if you have any questions about the revisions that we want to make or about where the program is going. And I will say one of the benchmarks that we wanted to reach, and we're working, and obviously part of the policy requires that we have oversight from the independent assessor. She is doing a fantastic job at assessing whether we are sticking to policy. I've gotten to know her more over our policy than I have at any other time. But I'm confident that what she'll find is that we are doing everything possible to maintain public trust. One of the big things that we were able to do this year was to finally get a flight management system. Before, we were managing our flights, our data records, the equipment, and things like that on Excel spreadsheet. And again, kudos to my team, because I asked them for that information, they provided. But we finally got a flight management system that does that automatically, and we have a system that we can upload all that information, manage our equipment, manage our flight hours, input our incident information, so that when we are requested that stuff, it doesn't take a lot of digging. It's a one-stop shop now. So that's a great benchmark for us. And again, that's been supported by the fire chief, by Chief Poyer, and the rest of the management on us moving forward with the program. So at this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.
I'd like to commend you on the report and all the work that you're doing. I remember when you first came in, but this report shows that you've done a lot of work to become certified and a leader in the field.
Thank you.
My question is, how are you handling the data to ensure privacy?
So there's a couple. What we've done is, and again, with the support of the department, we now have dedicated server space behind the department's firewall. So our policy states that if we capture data, whether it's a picture or video that is incident related, that it's managed by the custodian of records, which is our arson section. So our policy actually is that we will use their designee. Typically, it would be an arson inspector that would come out, or say at the Creek Fire, they were doing an investigation. We supported that investigation with the drone flight. So we turn that data over to them. We scrub our files, and they have it now. Any information that we gather that is media worthy, then the custodian of that, or the chain of that custody, goes to the public information officer, at which time he distributes it once it's been approved for distribution. We've also now have public media. We've gone through the training to be able to upload any videos that we do that's training related or interest to the UAS world in general. And we now post on Twitter and Facebook, things like that. Other than that, we manage according to the California's Records Retentions Act. We keep that data. We make sure that it's secure. We scrub it off of the drone so that it's not just out there and can get lost on a disk. Mm-hmm. It goes to a computer first, at which time, as soon as we can get into a department location, we upload that into the server so it's secure there and can be managed from that point.
So how long do you maintain it before you scrub?
Currently, the law requires that we maintain it for up to 5 years.
Oh, I see.
So we've had 3 incidences where we've used information or arson has requested the information as part of investigation. We turn that over. Up to this point, we have not been requested through subpoena or through request, any information from an outside agency. Mm-hmm. So we haven't had to come against that challenge. We continue in communication with the ACLU. They check in every now and again. And they are, outside of us following their recommendation of destroying everything, they're extremely happy with what we've done. And in fact, they comment on our program when other departments are coming to look to build their programs. They comment on how professional we are in handling our data, and the fact that, at the direction of the Fire Commission, we reached out to them proactively and partnered with them in the development of our policy. So it's been a good run so far. Okay. Haven't had any mishaps in the last 2 years.
That's very good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Great work on all this. Also, appreciation to Commissioner President Ibarra for working closely with you on this. I know she's helped to keep us on the straight and narrow. One quick change here. I'd like to strike one section here under the on page 4 of the policy under hazard assessment, pre and post incident analysis. The section that begins pre-incident analysis is intended to provide situational awareness, and then ends at other types of homeland security planning and operations. Just that one little paragraph. So we're going to. I just want to strike that. it gets away a little bit from, I think, the intent of the commission. So we'll go ahead and strike that unless there's
Which
objection.
paragraph is that again?
So it's page 4.
Okay.
At the top in the red there, under the section hazard assessment, pre and post incident analysis.
With
Starting with pre-incident analysis
okay.
and ending with Homeland Security planning and operations.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and strike that, and then if I could get a motion to adopt the report as amended.
So moved.
And the
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we're going to move to, we have a couple of public comments in here. So I'll go ahead and call them. So we'll start with Diana Igawa of LA Women in the Fire Service.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vice President Glazer, Board of Fire Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, City Attorney, and Ms. Gomez. I'm Diana Igawa, President of Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service, and I'm here to share some things regarding a letter that was dated December 10th by UFLAC directed to Chief Terrazas regarding the LFD Drill Academy. A few days later, after meeting with our board and discussing the events with the women's organization and our membership, we expressed our concern and we directed a letter to Chief Terrazas dated December 17th. It expressed our concern regarding the letter, specifically saying to you, Chief Terrazas, that UFLAC perhaps came to a early conclusion without having evidence. Specifically, most noticeably, we were concerned that the letter from UFLAC led to the conclusion that the drill tower standards have somehow been compromised without providing information to support the claim. It's our position that the UFLAC letter is premature in its judgment, given that the Fire Commission's independent assessor is currently conducting an audit of the drill tower classes 2013-1 through 2017-3. It's important, especially with my 34 years of service coming up in June, that we can ill afford any takeaway other than diversity equals strength, and there should be nothing less than that. We want to encourage the evaluation of the drill tower process through the audit being conducted by the independent assessor. As a stakeholder organization representing the interests of women in the fire service of Los Angeles Fire Department, it's our position that there should be one standard for all recruits in the drill tower, regardless of gender, age, ethnicity, race, or sexual orientation. However, there should be an ongoing continuous evaluation of the drill tower curriculum to ensure that, number one, any outdated methodology and ideology is consistently challenged and updated. Number two, that all drill tower curriculum and manipulative processes are consistent with the actual day-to-day duties of a firefighter. We know that sometimes that requires expertise operationally, as well as sometimes some outside oversight. It should be collective, not specific, so that we have a more global view. In addition, I believe that change is very unnerving for many, but it can equal progress if done correctly. We need to continue to evaluate and review our processes. And I'm also, and again, the board and the Los Angeles Fire Service are in additionally in support of the Organizational Workplace Environment Assessment, which should create this present workplace environment, a culture that creates a healthy workplace, which is a key determinant of quality of members and their level of productivity, which helps them have a desire to learn and a motivation to perform their duties hand in glove to help promote our better practices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead and take Chris Larson, also from the LA Women in the Fire Service, representing.
Good morning. I'm Chris Larson. I'm treasurer of the Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service. Good morning, Commissioner Glazer, Commissioners Hara, Ninberg, and Woods Gray. Good morning, Ms. Gomez, City Attorney, and Chief Terrazas. My comment is based on the letter that went out to UFLAC, more in terms of the social media aspect of it. Having posted that on social media and having sent it out to all the fire stations, I believe it's had an adverse impact, on the members within the organization and has caused dissension and questioning. I know if I were a minority member hired within the last few years, it could be interpreted that I was hired under a different standard, and that is blatantly not true. That letter and posting it on social media has had a far-raising impact. We've had women that have been sent questions to them saying, what's going on here? It causes an adverse impact to the point that I'm worried that it might have an adverse impact as we open up our hiring period in February of this year for minority candidates. That stuff, once it's posted out on the internet, it's like it's gospel, and it's disturbing that it might have an impact that you were discussing earlier when it comes to the drill tower and our hiring procedures that we don't want and we can ill afford. So it just calls for more concerted effort to make sure that what we're saying is actually the truth, and that we work to make sure that everybody is included. And that's another reason that this organizational study is going to be important for this organization, and that we can ill afford any type of bullying behavior directed towards anybody, minorities or women, to continue within this organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Robert Hawkins representing the Los Angeles City Centaurians.
Good morning, Vice President Andrew Glazer, Commissioners, Mrs. Gomez, City Attorney, and Chief Terrazas. My name is Robert Hawkins. I'm the Secretary for the Centaurian Organization, and I'm representing them this morning. Also, with the recent letter that's gone out from our UFLAC, the Centaurian Organization has for years has always struggled with the issue of standards. What standards mean to us? It's gotten to the point where we don't even mention standards in our center. The history of the Centaurians in this department is we have always been questioned in regards to meeting standards. In actuality, we have had to exceed standards. Black firefighters have to compensate for stereotyped assumption of inferior competence. Whenever the word standard, minority, and women are in the same sentence, we have an issue with it. We have never heard any fire commissioners or anyone say or question to lower standards. What the Centaurian Organization wants is we want and agree with one standard. Chief said he heard a quote yesterday, "Are we doing enough to help others?" The question I want to throw to you, are we doing enough to help our candidates in the drill tower? Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker for today will be Freddie Escobar representing UFLAC.
Freddie Escobar, President of United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, representing over 3,500 brothers and sisters of the LAFD. I'd be remiss if I didn't address the comments that you said, Andrew Glazer, when we first started regarding the in-crowd, the culture. Is it not only insulting, it's incorrect. With 31 years on the job and brothers and sisters to the right of me who have been in and out, pushing en route, on scene, and available, because you visit a fire station and have dinner and have conversation with members does not mean you understand the culture. It has changed, brother. It has changed more than you realize. Go out and ask the members that have been on the job. Also, you stated a letter. Yes, I as a president wrote that letter to all the members, and you opened Pandora's box. I'm not the commissioner that grabbed members from the Bureau and had a one-way conversation and said that she will not stand for the unsuccessfulness of females graduating the drill tower. Look to your left. She's the one that did that action. And the members come to me because I represent the members at large. And for members in my bargaining unit to be scared to come up to their chain of command and say that's incorrect from a commissioner to abuse that power, yes, I'm going to continue to write that letter. Yes, I'm going to continue to stand for what's right, and you're not going to do it on my watch. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thanks for proving my point, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we're adjourned.
Thank you.